and welcome to another Stage to Sofa. So this week I have got a very exciting upcoming soprano, Jennie Moser. And she's not only the twice recipient of the Metropolitan Opera National Council Encouragement Award, she is also a leading opera entrepreneur and graphic designer. Jennie, thank you so much for joining me here today, all the way from Indiana.
Thank you for having me, Phoebe.
You are so welcome. So you seem to have a never-ending amount of strings to your bow. You're not only a fantastic and successful young singer, you are also the CEO of two incredible businesses that you've launched entirely by yourself. And if you don't mind me saying, you must be a very busy lady.
I do keep busy. I like it that way, though. I try not to complain about that because it is self-imposed. So
It's amazing. I've just been so inspired reading your story. I'm just wondering, how are you currently spending your time and how are you finding this huge transition from stage to sofa?
Well, I am grateful that my actual work routine didn't have to change dramatically since I was already doing digital work. But I learned rather quickly about a year ago that working from home was not my straightest path to productivity. So I had already had the experience of going, oh, wait, it's not as fun to work from your couch in your sweats. And I had joined an amazing co-working community of entrepreneurs here where I live in Indiana. So that's been the biggest bummer. But other than that, the nature of my work, thankfully, is similar, other than the fact that right now everybody needs digital solutions. So since that is my line of work, the requests are a little bit fast and furious, and everybody pretty much wants them done yesterday.
I can imagine it's a very busy time for you right now. So I know you've also launched one of your businesses, Stagetime Arts. Can you just give us a little bit of info about that? Because I've read a lot about it and it's essentially a LinkedIn for classical musicians, isn't it?
Yeah, which it's so funny to think about it that way now because that's so straightforward and it's a great way to tie it up and put a bow on it. But it took me a lot longer to come to the idea and to executing it and understanding. But the very long story in a nutshell is that I just had fielded so many requests for websites from young individual artists, artists of all ages, that I couldn't field. And so it eventually became really evident that maybe hundreds of hours of custom work per person wasn't the smartest way to showcase people's materials and get them connected. So that was kind of the inspiration for Stagetime.
Brilliant. And how did you really come up with that concept? At what point in your life did you go, this is a space that needs to be filled?
There were some people smarter than me that saw what I was doing and actually kind of pointed it out. I ran across an awesome venture capitalist who was visiting from Silicon Valley. And I had just launched a set of templates thinking, oh, well, if I can't respond to everybody's requests for websites, maybe I can empower them to do it themselves with the same product, which ultimately was, I think in my estimation, still a big ask for a singer. And so he kind of saw what I was doing and he was like, are you serious? You need to connect all these people together. You're already kind of serving as the connective tissue very manually. So it had started to organically move that way. But it kind of took somebody else like thwapping me on the head. And then within 24 hours of wrapping my head around it, I got the itch, the entrepreneur itch, where I was like, I have to do this and I have to do it right now. This is so important. So just a little wild that it happened way before this situation, stage to sofa, because now I feel like everybody could extra use it. So I want to get it done.
That's amazing. And so much dedication has obviously gone into it and so much thought. I'm just wondering, how important do you feel it is as a business tool in the classical music world to have something like the platform that you're creating to move forwards and get the industry changing and collaborating? How important do you feel it is?
I mean, as the CEO of the company, I think it's imperative, or else I wouldn't be doing it. No, but truthfully, I think that it is one of the many areas of our industry where the rest of the world has figured out how to solve the problem and move forward in a way that is a lot less stressful and a lot less manual. So the fact that there are still things that are done manually, written on paper, flipped through a Rolodex, make a phone call, type in a URL, those are all points where you can lose somebody in terms of actually making a connection and growing and expanding your collaborative network. So I think it's really imperative, and I'm just optimistic that other people see it not as a competitor or another product to, you know, take money out of their pockets or anything like that, but actually as a tool that just makes their lives easier in a lot of different areas.
Completely. And I'm wondering, how does Stagetime Arts differ from other platforms such as LinkedIn? How does it differ for the classical world?
Well, I think if LinkedIn worked for the classical world, we would all be there. So the fact that we're not begs the question, what's not working? And to me, the really obvious answer, especially after designing all these websites, was media. It's not media rich. And in fact, the way it's set up, there's actually kind of a quite negative impact for the kind of information a performer needs to put in. So for one, your profile picture takes up this little 1-inch square, and the fields for entering media aren't particularly friendly. But I think on top of that, the gig economy issue is pretty significant. So on LinkedIn, imagine if you were updating your job title and company once a month or once every 6 weeks. That would look quite negative. You would look flaky. You would look like you couldn't hold down a job, which in the performing arts, we all know that it's a gig economy, and more jobs means you're ostensibly a better or more involved performer. So when I designed the platform, a lot of the line of thinking was, how do I help people disseminate that information in a way that is really celebratory and really straightforward and honest, and also beautiful, because it's important when you are your product to feel like you're selling yourself and your own human capital in a way that feels good and beautiful for everybody.
Completely. And I find it really interesting how the art form is moving forwards in this digital age. And like you said, you're busier than ever right now. How do you personally see the art form as a whole moving forward throughout the other side of these challenging times that we're facing?
I think in a lot of ways it'll be fine. The music will always be there. What I don't know about is the industry. To your question, I don't know about the industry, but I know the music has always been fine. And we've always seen value in that. But I think finding new ways to present it and engage with audiences is going to be imperative. Um, I mean, I wonder about lengths of productions and that sort of thing, frankly. I mean, think if you sit down to watch a movie on Netflix that's recently been filmed and you open it up and see that it's 3 hours and 15 minutes long, you're going to go, oh my God, Netflix, do you really expect me to sit here and watch a new movie that I don't know if it's good or not for 3 hours and 15 minutes? And that's when you're sitting in your living room on your couch with your snacks and your dog and whoever else. Like that still kind of feels like a big ask, right? So, I'm looking forward to seeing colleagues innovate in terms of how to present that material in a way that is digestible to more people, or at least that's the hope.
Yeah, that's the hope for everyone, I think. And I'm wondering, because you've got such this amazing, varied career already, and your own, only how old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Oh my goodness. So you're 26 and you've got two businesses and you've been given all these incredible opportunities as a young singer. What was the biggest obstacle that you have faced getting to this point that you're currently at today?
Honestly, probably the line of thinking that I had to choose one or the other, singing or my design business. And actually, for a stint this past year, I was fully convinced that I was going to go to business school. And then Stagetime seemed like a better idea, at least for the time being. And I found myself consistently going, oh, well, if I am designing, does that mean that I'm a distracted singer? If I'm singing, how does that fit into design? Can I do both at once? And it kind of took this acknowledgement of the fact that it's not 20 or 30 years ago, and we are more of a gig economy, and we are more accepting of people having varied backgrounds and acknowledging that perhaps they are stronger for it. I don't think we're all the way there in our industry yet. But it just kind of got to the point where I was really unable to put one or the other down, and kind of decided I'm 26 and I'm not going to shut any of those doors. So if somebody's not comfortable with both, then so be it. That's probably not the right work fit for me either. But I found by and large that the two feed each other a lot. But that was my own thing to overcome, was getting comfortable with both.
Absolutely. And I can fully relate to that 100%. I'm wondering, that mindset that you spoke about, you said part of the industry, perhaps not all of the industry, is fully developed in that way. Do you feel like there is a lack of education of this? It's okay to have two things that you're doing at the same time in a conservatoire setting? Because I know you went somewhere for your BMAs and also you've done masters in vocal performance. Did you have that guidance while you were there?
Um, I actually, in my undergraduate work, I didn't go to a conservatory. I went to a school of music within a larger research university. I went to Northwestern University right outside of Chicago. And so how things have changed. A lot of my colleagues were actually getting 2 degrees at the time. They'd be getting a voice degree and a degree in biochemistry, and they were quite good singers. That wasn't the issue. But I watched a lot of them, and to be fair, they were 18. I, in my mind, kind of struggle to figure out how the two fit together. And so I think that was always a big concern of mine is, will I be unfocused? And I don't know if that was due to the conservatory setting or whatever else, but I definitely felt on the whole, a lot of my training had been, hey, you have to be all in on this. It will take all your time. It will affect a lot of habits. You know, they seem like silly little things, but when you're a college kid, it's like, I guess I can't go to parties because I have X, Y, and Z, which is fine. It's a sacrifice that I was fine making. It's not that I wanted to party all the time, but it is interesting. And I have found on the whole that I personally do better when I bring my whole self to the table. So
Completely. And that is really interesting and inspiring that you've had that journey. And I'm wondering now about the young singers that are currently on undergraduate programs, also postgraduate programs at both music conservatoires and music universities. What piece of advice would you give to them?
Find the things you really like, focus in, and then invest, and know that that's fine, and know that you can reprioritize later. And if you want to spend a whole weekend not practicing because you want to be, I mean, heck, at the climbing gym, that's what I go do. Sometimes that's okay. And I'm always shocked when I come back from 48 hours and I'm better rested and I sound better, or my mind has cleared, or I wasn't fixated on one thing and potentially making it worse, because it is such a weird cerebral psychosomatic thing that you can't see or touch, and you can't rely on somebody else to see or touch it all the time either. So I think taking that mental step away, as long as you know how to get back to it, is actually really, really valuable.
Completely. And I think a lot of young singers will be able to relate and also find that very useful. So thank you.
Yeah,
I'm wondering now, what is your best piece of advice that you can give to 18-year-old Jennie?
Oh my gosh. Relax, probably. I wanted to just be in school and do nothing but sing. And I feel like that's the universe's grand joke on me, right? Because now I'm arguably the most distracted singer my age. But again, the two just really have fed each other, and there was no way for me to not do both. Just personally, I don't think that was ever going to happen. And I found that so much of my imposter syndrome, both as a designer and as a singer, went away the more I did both of them, because I would field all of these design requests from singers who were 10 years older than me and my idol. They would be singing at places I would love to sing, that I didn't know if I would ever get the chance to audition for or sing. And when they were in my inbox with the same insecurities as my friends and I, in terms of, well, do you think this headshot will, do you think it'll land better? Do you think that people will like this better? Do you think that the brand of the site will influence the way people interpret me? To see them going through all that same stuff actually selfishly really helped me. And I found that by and large, walking into auditions, the more sites I did, the more I walked into an audition and I was like, I'm just like them. And I have every right to be here just like they did. So that would probably be the biggest thing.
Fantastic. Jennie, you are a force to be reckoned with, and I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining me today on Stage to Sofa. You've been a joy to speak to.
Thanks for having me, Phoebe. I appreciate it.